Good afternoon. It's good to see everybody. It's a great occasion, great opportunity to bring together Irish and American leaders to converse, share stories. We've got a long history together. You know, for me, it always feels like coming home when I come to Ireland. My paternal ancestors hail from Cork, West Cork, for those of you that are that specific, and my maternal ancestors hail from Kinsale, a lovely little seaside town on the southwest side of the island of Ireland. And so it always feels like home to me. Now, for those of you that know a little bit of Gaelic, if you roughly translate the word Hooley into Gaelic, it stands for a party. So another reason for me to always want to visit Ireland. You know, there's always a good reason to visit Ireland. You know, one of the best places in the world to do business. I think that's what brings us all here together. It's a place that has a pro-business environment. Those of us that have done business here know that. But more than anything, it's a place of deep and talented individuals. The talent in Ireland, the enthusiasm, the energy, the willingness to get knocked down and get back up is, to me, unlike any place in the world. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to visit our offices in Ireland. As Warren mentioned, we've been here for 20 years. It was our 20-year anniversary this year. 5 different locations, just under 3,000 employees. And it's a business that for us came together through a series of acquisitions. And those of you that know acquisitions, they don't always work so well. Well, it was the Irish spirit that brought it all together and made it work. And we have, for us, it's a thriving business. It's our biggest location in Europe, and a business that we think holds great promise for the future. Of course, the other opportunity to be in Ireland is to watch the BC Eagles compete against Georgia Tech's Yellow Jacket in the Aer Lingus Football Classic tomorrow. So I feel triply blessed, celebrating State Street's 20th anniversary, spend time with you and our guest speaker, and also to enjoy the home opener for both Georgia Tech and Boston College. You know, this good fortune reminds me of an old Irish blessing. May you have warm words on a cold evening, a full moon on a dark night, and the road downhill all the way to your day. It's a privilege for me to introduce our guest speaker today, one of the most global CEOs in one of the most global companies on the planet. Starting in Atlanta 130 years ago, Coca-Cola has built one of the world's most powerful brands. And Muhtar Kent learned about being global early on. Born in New York, the son of a Turkish diplomat, he grew up in India, Thailand, Iran, and Turkey. Shortly after college, he began working at Coke. From the beginning, entrepreneurial. If you've flown on planes and you see the small cans of soda, that was one of Muhtar's early innovations. He learned distribution from the ground up, driving Coke trucks throughout Turkey. By '85, he was the general manager of Turkey, Central Asia, and following that, oversaw 23 countries in Europe. And maybe one of the most dramatic things that he did was following the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, he and his team built 22 factories in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe in 28 months. In '99, he left Coke to become CEO of FS Beverage Group, one of the largest in Europe, and then in 2005 returned, initially as president and COO, and then in 2009 became chairman and CEO of Coke. You know, as you can see, vast global experience, widely respected among the business community across the globe. He currently chairs the World Economic Forum's International Business Council. He's a board member and past chair of the U.S.-China Business Council and a member of the Association of Southeastern Asian Nations. He's also a board member of Special Olympics. You know, it's difficult to attribute this amount of success to one factor. But Muhtar is a big believer in the power of cultivating relationships. And he was once quoted as saying that every moment of every day is an opportunity to start or strengthen a relationship. How appropriate that we're here in Ireland. I know you want to hear more about Muhtar, so I'm going to stop here, but one thing I would say is that regardless of who prevails tomorrow, the Yellow Jackets from Coke's hometown of Atlanta, or the Eagles from my and State Street's hometown of Boston, we all win by having Muhtar with us today. Muhtar Kent, please join us.
Wow, what an introduction. I certainly don't deserve all of that for sure. And I also feel so humbled standing up here between these two incredibly beautifully crafted trophies here. And thanks to Waterford, they've done a wonderful job. Let's give Waterford a hand. It's so what an incredible audience here too. Madam Ministers, ambassadors, presidents, governors, mayors, CEOs, and incredibly distinguished people. It's great to be here in Ireland with so many of my fellow CEOs and other leaders from business, from government, everywhere. I'm honored on behalf of all of our 770,000 strong employees in 207 nations across the world to be part of this first overseas meeting of the Boston College CEO Club. But I'm not going to let that go to my head. After all, I know my role here is to serve as kind of pre-game entertainment, so to speak, for tomorrow. But even without cheerleaders, I'll try not to disappoint. Firstly, Ireland holds a very special place in my life. Back in 1981, I came to Ireland. I was based in Amsterdam working for the Coca-Cola company. 81, that's a long time ago. And I came here for 2 days, and I stayed for 70 days. I had an accident, and they saved my life at Trinity College, Baggot Street Hospital. So I owe my life to that institution, so it holds a very special place in my heart. Baggot Street Hospital that is no longer there in that building, but that's every time I come to Dublin, I go past that building and look at it and cherish it. Secondly, one of the reasons I stand here before you today, and one of the reasons that I cherish my role so much is Don Keogh, an incredible friend and mentor to me, and I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his friendship and mentorship over the many, many years, almost 40 years that spanned my career. So Ireland, and he was, of course, he had such deep Irish heritage. So for the record, as it was said a little before, I'm pulling for both teams tomorrow, as we'd like the chance to refresh all thirsty fans at the game. The stories of Ireland and America are as richly connected as the stories of any two nations separated by an ocean. In fact, Ireland and America are not so much separated by the Atlantic as they are joined, actually, by that body of water. In the 19th century, men and women set out from Dublin, Cork, Galway, other towns and villages all across Ireland. They journeyed to Boston, they journeyed to New York, Chicago, and many other places, including Savannah in our home state. Passage to America was, of course, difficult, of course, dangerous, but those were desperate days in Ireland, and America offered hope, opportunity. Reaching America, though, was not the end of a challenge, but it was the start of a new chapter, a new opportunity for the Irish and for America, for the story of connection and partnership and shared spirit that continues to this day. That dynamic shared story of this great nation, Ireland and America, has many facets. We're connected from America to Ireland and vice versa, culturally, socially, spiritually, and politically. We're connected as free people, democratic people. More than half of America's presidents have had Irish roots, from Teddy Roosevelt to Jack Kennedy to Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama. Many great captains of American industry have roots here, from Henry Ford to Bill Gates and beyond, and many here, of course. We're also linked by 30 million Americans connected to Ireland through their heritage. And that's not on St. Patrick's Day, when the number of Irish Americans goes to 300 million on St. Patrick's Day. And we're connected, of course, by commerce. America is Ireland's #1 destination for exports. And Ireland brings in more goods from America than any other country except Great Britain. There are hundreds of U.S. firms, like mine, based in Ireland today, employing about 175,000 people in a host of industries, from manufacturing to retail to banking, innovation. And for good reason. Ireland is a great place to do business. For our part, Coca-Cola has been refreshing Irish people since 1952, the year that I was born. We're a local business here. We hire locally, we produce locally, we distribute locally, we create value locally for local businesses, local communities. And our system, including our company and our bottling partners in Ireland, called Coca-Cola Hellenic, we employ about almost 1,800 people here in Ireland directly, and another 6,000 Irish jobs are supported by our business in our supply chains. We create value for more than 25,000 retail outlets here in Ireland, shops, restaurants, pubs, cafes, cinemas, a number of which I visited yesterday here in Dublin and also in other parts of the country. And since 2000, our system has invested nearly 1 billion euros in Ireland, and we keep on investing. Yesterday in Ballina, in the west of Ireland, we announced an incremental investment of 26 million euros in a new production line for Coca-Cola Freestyle. What is Coca-Cola Freestyle? It's the Coca-Cola fountain of the 21st century, a high-tech dispenser that gives people the choice of more than 100, in some instances, depending on the model, 200 different delicious beverages. And that footprint only had, before this innovation, 6 or 8 different choices. So 6 or 8 different choices have gone to 100 or 200 choices. From the start, the Irish have more than played their part in our history, in our story, in the Coca-Cola story. Asa Candler, a visionary brand builder, founded the Coca-Cola Company in 1899. Mr. Candler called one of his Atlanta homes Callan Castle. Many decades later, my great friend, the late Don Keogh, my dear mentor, helped make Coca-Cola the planet-spanning brand that it is today. Don was loved by many in this room here and far beyond, and for good reason. He never met a stranger. He was never too busy to care about people or share his love for life and also for Coca-Cola. When tomorrow's game is over, the victors will hoist the Keogh Naughton trophy for the first time. And I want to thank Martin and Carmel Naughton and also their family, and Neil is here, of course, for honoring our dear friend Don Keogh and his legacy in this very special way. Thank you very much. I'm later going to meet this afternoon with my good friend and predecessor, Neville Isdale. As Coca-Cola's Indiana Jones, Neville left the good life of retirement to return to the company at a time of difficulty and doubt. Frankly, at that time, the Coca-Cola Company was struggling a little bit. And as chairman and CEO, this proud son of County Down made a real and lasting difference in boosting morale and getting our business back to the track of growth. And we continue to build on Neville's good work in the last 8-9 years. And today, Coca-Cola is led by people from every corner of the globe, but the Irish are well represented. Iriel Finan, head of our Global Bottling Investment Group, Paul Mulligan, who runs our North America operations, John Murphy, who heads our entire Asian businesses, and Damien Gamble, I think, who's here, who runs our largest global bottler based in London, Coca-Cola European Partners, and so many others. And of course, the Irish aren't only making a difference at Coca-Cola. All around the world, Ireland continues to make an outsized impact, positive outsized impact. In 2015, WEF, the World Economic Forum, which I was the proud chair of its International Business Council for a number of years, again named Ireland our planet's most globalized nation, based on economic globalization, based on social globalization, based on political globalization. Ireland's outsized impact on the world is now and always will be shaped and fueled by the legacy, by the great legacy of her people. People here, people abroad. And again, I mentioned Neville Isdale, my predecessor, has invested a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of money from his own pockets to create an amazing new interactive experience that shares exceptional stories of Ireland and the Irish diaspora in a museum that he has created, named appropriately named Epic Ireland. The museum recently opened here in Dublin, and it's not to be missed. Trust me. Not everything has been sweetness. Not everything has been always shining and light. The global financial crisis brought some new and intense challenges back in 2008 and 2009. America's mortgage crisis sent undercapitalization stocks across Europe and Ireland down, and there was also fallout from the housing bubble, the Celtic Tiger. So long the envy of Europe was knocked down, but not out, not knocked out, not by a long shot. In time, Ireland would battle back with resilience and with determination. And now Ireland, again, is amongst the leaders in terms of economic competitiveness, back again. In the top 24 countries, according to the World Economic Forum, in the world, and EU and ranks 8th on the innovation chart in the world. And this nation leads the EU in 2 key areas: depth of innovation, measurable gains in social goods, and economic returns from innovation investments. Hugely important in the 21st century. These are both very important indicators. Yes, Brexit raises fresh concerns. Ireland does have a lot at stake given the extensive ties across the water with Great Britain. What will ultimately happen in Brexit is impossible to know, of course, at this point, but it's safe to say that the legacy of partnership between Ireland and America is not going to change. Whatever happens in the United States, we will continue to stand with Ireland in terms of trade with Ireland and investing in Ireland. Last year, I chaired the B20 meeting at the G20 gathering of heads of state. B20 is the business side of the G20. And I asked Taoiseach Andy Kenny to help share the story of Ireland's economic recovery with this group. And Anne Nolan came from the Secretary of Finance and Department of Finance and gave a very powerful and well-received presentation about that whole story. So everyone in the G20 nations could also learn and benefit from that. And at a fundamental level, Ireland understands what we call at Coca-Cola the power of partnerships. In an increasingly complex and interconnected world, that's the way that you can actually get things done on a sustainable basis. Partnerships. By partnering with others, other nations, other businesses, other organizations, across what we call, again, at Coca-Cola, the golden triangle of business, government, and civil society. Why? Because each sector brings to the table unique strengths in that golden triangle. We at Coca-Cola, we were built on the power of partnerships. 250 bottling partners around the globe, some of which are here. John Brock is here, who's the president and CEO of Coca-Cola European Partners. He's here, and many others in the room. We will depend on the power of partnerships to refresh the world. Partnerships with our bottlers, as I said, who make more than 3,000 products and 500 brands that we own as the Coca-Cola Company. Partnerships with our wonderful consumers who invite our products into their lives 1.9 billion times every single day. Partnerships with our share owners who believe in our vision to create even longer-term sustainable value. Partnerships with our suppliers, ad agencies, valued business partners. Partnerships with our customer partners, retail and shops, supermarkets, restaurants, and partnerships with other vital stakeholders like governments, and like the great partnership we have here with IDA and the Government of Ireland. And I want to, again, mention what a great novel idea it was when it was first put into place, the IDA and spurring investment, inviting companies like ours to unpack our bags and stay in Ireland forever. And that's what we have done as all the other companies that are here represented that are investing in Ireland. But in today's world, businesses must create more shared value for countries and communities. Some call this inclusive capitalism. Some call this connected capitalism. In our world of Coca-Cola, we focus on the 3 W's: water, women, and well-being. That's what guides us as a sort of corridor of shared value creation. In terms of women, we have been the first commercial enterprise to set a goal to create economic empowerment for 5 million women by 2020 outside of our 4 walls. And we are we have achieved our objectives so far in the first 5 years, and we are going to get to 5 million women entrepreneurs by 2020. And it was when we first announced the goal in 2010, it was people thought we were out of our minds. How can you get that done? And we will go out into countries. We identify the women entrepreneurs with our partner NGOs. We are connected to the IFC, International Finance Corporation, who has put on the table a $100 million microcredit facility. We train the women entrepreneur candidates in basic accounting, stock rotation, retailing, distribution, logistics, and launch them as either distributors, and they can distribute not just Coca-Cola products, any other products in the world, in the consumer world, and they become women retailers. And we have now achieved by 1.3 million women entrepreneurs as counted by PwC, and we're on our target by the end of this decade to get to 5 million. On water, we were again the first enterprise in the world that have put a goal together, a goal forward in 2010 to become water neutral by 2020. Water neutral means for every liter of water we take to make our beverages, we give back that liter. And we have been declared water neutral as the first Fortune 50 corporation in the world to have achieved water neutrality in 2015. And there was a big event organized by the Nobel people in Stockholm just a few days ago, talking about that and giving us the honor of having achieved that goal 5 years ahead of our objective. And then on well-being, we know that we have to play an important role in being part of the solution for non-communicable diseases like obesity. And that's why we have set a goal to have a well-being program in every market where we operate in partnership with governments and cities and states. And that program is well underway again. So, and we're doing that through multiple different channels around the world. Coca-Cola also has been a long-standing partner of RED, and we're working with RED and the Global Fund to end mother-to-child transmission of AIDS by 2020. That's a goal. As you may know, RED is the brainchild of two great Irish partners, Bono and Bobby Shriver. My friend Bono is Bono, an Irish force for nature and an international force for good. As for the Shrivers, I've worked with both Maria, Tim, and Bobby for many years at Special Olympics, which we at Coca-Cola have been proud to be a partner of, founding partner of, since it was created by Eunice Kennedy Shriver in 1968. Loretta, I don't know if Loretta is in the room. Is she in the room, Loretta? Yeah, Loretta is in the room. She was a close personal friend and confidant, of course, of Eunice. She's completed 26 marathons in her athletics career. She's been awarded 2 honorary doctorate degrees, and I personally, on the board of Special Olympics, value Loretta's fierce and ongoing commitment to the ideals of and the values of Special Olympics, dignity and fair play and inclusiveness. So would you stand up, Loretta, so we can recognize you? Power of partnerships is not the only thing the world can learn from Ireland, though. And I've basically have 5 related ideas that I'd like to finish with. Number 1 is dynamism. Countries, communities, companies have to keep moving. Ireland has a way of importing and exporting great ideas and great people. Ireland's wanderlust keeps people moving out, while Ireland's hospitality, warm hospitality, keeps people moving in. And that kind of dynamism is so healthy. Diversity is so healthy. Diverse ideas and diverse people and diverse cultures. John Kennedy put it this way. Immigration, he said, quote, is not just compatible with, but is a necessary component of economic growth, unquote. I wish we could remember that more often these days. Number 2 is cultural pride. When you have a culture as old and as varied and as rich as Ireland, it tends to keep people healthy and grounded. Culture and enduring values also create and strengthen connections between people, and they've helped preserve the dignity of the Irish people, even in the toughest of times. Millions in today's world would benefit immensely if they enjoyed even a fraction of the noble and cultural pride of the Irish. Number 3 is innovation. I mentioned it earlier, but innovation is, in a way, the coin of the 21st century. Ireland has become a bustling hub of innovation, and not by accident. This nation was the first to create a public agency devoted to and attracting investment. I mentioned the IDA. Martin Shannon is here, and what a great partner you've been to us, Martin. Number 4 is resilience. When they knock you down, you get back up here. With humor, you get up with pride, you get up with courage, and you get up with innovation. Resilience actually flourishes when people respect history and traditions while remaining also open to change. Today's world, I humbly say, needs more resilience, needs more Irish-minded people and Irish-minded institutions. And number 5, and last but not least, collaboration always trumps conflict. History rarely moves in a linear fashion. Even so, Ireland's journey from conflict and strife to partnership and collaboration is one of the most remarkable and instructive of the past quarter of a century. Ireland is peaceful today, while too much of the world beyond is not. For those places, Ireland has marked at least one way forward with political and cultural and religious leadership, and, of course, with courage. In the greatest tradition of Irish storytelling, I want to share one last story. How many here remember the 1970s Coca-Cola TV spot that showed young people from different lands on a hilltop singing, "I'd like to buy the world a Coke"? That commercial was not dreamt by Don Draper, as you may have seen in last year's, in the final moments of TV's Mad Men. In truth, the song was written by a legendary but very, very, very real man named Bill Baker, who passed away earlier this year. He was flying to London when his plane was diverted to Shannon due to fog. The passengers spent the night in Shannon, and some were, of course, not too happy with that diversion. The next morning, however, with London still fogged in, Mr. Baker, noticed that some of the previously more unhappy travelers were sitting around laughing, exchanging jokes, stories over ice-cold bottles of Coca-Cola. Inspired, he found a napkin and scribbled down these words: "I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company." The song was on the radio less than a month later, and the rest is, of course, history. 45 years later, people are still talking about Bill Baker's song. But we can all agree that the world could use more love. That is something that we can all agree. More understanding, more acceptance, more collaboration, more cooperation, more partnership. Like we see here, right here in Ireland, like we see between Ireland and America. We at Coca-Cola like to say that Coca-Cola provides people with simple moments of pleasure and refreshment. And that is true. As we do, we also want to make sure that we do our part to help make the world a better place. And not by ourselves, but through the power of partnerships, known by, exemplified by Irish people in this great country and in all Irish people all around the world. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate the hospitality, and thank you for inviting me here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll now take a few questions, if we have time for them. I'm looking to Warren. Do we? We're okay? Good. So any questions the audience may have about what I said, about anything you want to ask me? I'm happy to take any questions. And there's microphones. Just raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. No questions? No. Well, yes, there is a question right here in the front of. Can we have a microphone? Table 3.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, hi. Okay. Where are you?
2 o'clock.
Sorry.
Hi.
We'll come back to you.
I have a question which may be a little sensitive for you to answer, but nonetheless, given the EU decision regarding Apple this week, I wonder if you have any thoughts about Ireland and its relationship with the European Union and perhaps an increasing relationship with the United States and Britain, following an article written in a major newspaper here this week.
Yeah, I mean, I was with the Taoiseach, Andy Kenny, yesterday inaugurating a new investment. We're very comfortable with Ireland. As I said, we have unpacked our bags and we're here to stay. We're not tourists. And we're very happy to be here in that mode. And I understand that Minister Mitchell O'Connor is going to be here after me talking about this matter, so I'll leave that those words to her. But from the side of business, as I see it, as the CEO and chairman of the Coca-Cola Company, as one of the largest investors in Ireland, one of the first investors in Ireland 63 years ago. I know that date because I was in 1952, the year I was born. we're very happy, and I am sure that many of my successors, when they come to Ireland and they come and speak here, when that investment has doubled, tripled to $2–3 billion in the future, they will also be very happy. Table 3.
Thank you. Mr. Kent, China, a little different place than here. Interested in your perspective on where it is today and where for your company you think it's going to go in the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, in the just the minutes preceding lunch, I was talking to a couple of people about China. You know, China is a long-term story. It's a huge market. It's done something the world has never done before, which is bring 300 million people into the middle class in a 2-decade period. It's never been done in the world before, ever in the history of the world. So let's recognize what has been done. Anything like that also has its own, the best dog in the world has fleas. And all of that has taken place, all that positive, there is some issues with that because of the speed with which it happened, because of the reliance on the export market and not reliance only on internal consumption. And they're trying to balance that. You have to give China an incredible amount of credit for what they have done. It's the first in the history of the world. And will it be replicated in the continent of Africa, the youngest continent in the world? Will it be replicated in India? Will it be replicated in Indonesia, 350 million people in a Muslim country? Well, time will tell. We don't know. It's been done once. Pendulum has swung in its fever against corruption. I salute Xi Jinping for what he's doing in terms of trying to bring all of that to a balance, to an equilibrium. And now there is a little bit of stalemate with governors, with mayors who don't like to move as fast as before. But that's all going to come back. The pendulum is going to come back towards the middle, as it always does, as it always does. And that's how I see it. The growth in China has slowed down. Some of the statistics do not relate to everyday life in China. Disposable income, which is something that we track, is much lower than the published GDP numbers. That's a reality, and we all have to live with that. And we go forward continuing to invest for the future in China, because the future in China is going to be a very bright and very great future for all companies there because of the dynamism of the people of China and that economy too. Do we have time for another question? One more. Mayor, my good friend, Mayor Kasim Reed, who's our partner in our host city, a city that's been host to us for 130 years and counting. And we placed a plaque marker with Mayor Reed this past May, to mark the 130th anniversary of Coca-Cola.
Muhtar, thank you for joining us. Would you give us your insight on global youth unemployment? Something you've been thinking about for quite some time, and I think it's going to be increasing.
Thank you for asking me that question, Mayor Reed. And Mayor Reed was part of a group of subnational leaders and business leaders that we convened together in the World Economic Forum 2 years ago now, talking about this issue of youth unemployment and talking about this issue of growth with no employment and what we all have to do as leaders in the world. And the reason we invited only subnational leaders to that meeting was because we felt that in the world today, subnational leaders, which is mayors and governors in the world, act like CEOs. They make decisions, as opposed to national leaders in the world that unfortunately do not make decisions in today's world. And so we had a great meeting, and that work is continuing now in terms of aligning education more to the needs of business, in terms of making sure that vocational degrees, 2-year vocational degrees, are as important as 4-year degrees in universities. as important as the country of Switzerland. 40% of the CEOs in Switzerland don't have a 4-year degree. They only have 2-year degrees. And then if they want to, they can get a 4-year degree as they work at night in addition to their normal jobs. And there's a huge mismatch in the world, which we have uncovered in that meeting, and we keep on working at it at WEF. And I just came from another WEF summer meeting, Mayor Reid, where that issue was again put on the table with Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, talking about how we are all going to crumble underneath this cracked social mosaic if we don't do something about this. That our lives as we know it, our children will not be able to have and enjoy if this social mosaic cracks in front of our eyes, because today in the world there's about 300 million unemployed, 200 million of that is youth, and the youth is adding because you have the youngest continent in Africa, you've got the youngest geography in the world, the Middle East, when all of these unemployed are being recruited for bad things. And therefore, we just have to all, in business, in civil society, universities, like the great ones that are here, Boston College and also our hometown university, we all have to do something about this. Together with mayors, and I say mayors and governors are the ones that are going to help us, because those are the people who think of jobs just like we think of jobs. I rarely, and here, your Prime Minister, your Taoiseach, is an exception. I tell you, is an exception. We need more recognition of this in the world. And unfortunately, because of the bickering that's going on in national government, that's not taking place. And so we need to convene more groups of CEOs, business leaders, investors, and mayors and governors in the world, where we will find solutions to these issues, I believe. Thank you for asking the question, and thank you again for listening to me today.